don't think that's going to happen.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of TakeaSide presented by Sided Debates. We've got a great show for you today, but before we get started, be sure to get onto Sided.co or the Sided Debates app to post topics, vote, comment, and engage with other users on the site to climb up that leaderboard for a chance at winning that $25 Amazon gift card. The more interaction your debate can get, the more points you earn, inching you closer to that top prize. It was an exciting weekend here for the University of Kansas as the Jayhawks men's basketball team advanced to the Final Four for the first time since 2018. Stay tuned with all Media Crossroads for coverage in New Orleans this coming weekend. Switching into our first debate, we will be discussing the MLB season. Now that spring training is in full swing and the season is slated to start on April 7th, can anybody compete with the Dodgers and the Braves? The defending champion Atlanta Braves are coming back with most of their roster and trying to defend their title. And the Los Angeles Dodgers are the clear best team after free agency. I am joined by Kyle Mathis and Haley Schick to debate which teams could challenge the two favorites for the World Series.
Thank you, Max. My name is Kyle Mathis. I'm joined by Haley Schick. Today we're going to be talking about who we think are the dark horse contenders for the MLB and who can challenge the Dodgers and the Braves. And I'll start. I think it's the Toronto Blue Jays. The way that they ended the season last season is just unbelievable. I mean, they went from being at the bottom of the American League to almost making the playoffs. And I think they'll be led by Matt Chapman, Vladimir Guerrero, just to name a few. And I think that they can seriously shake up the American League this season.
Yeah, and I don't disagree, but the AL East is pretty competitive. So I don't know about that, but one of the teams that I think personally will be a sleeper team this year is the Chicago White Sox. You know, they're moving into their third year of a strong everyday lineup. They have great starting pitching and they have a great closer. They're able to close the gap, I think, in the AL. And I think that with Jose Abreu, that's an older guy. He's a little bit more experienced. I think that they'll be able to pull through and do a good job this year. I mean, obviously they took first place in the AL Central last year with 93 wins, 69 losses. So even though the AL Central is going to be tougher this year with the Twins signing Correa, Javier Baez with the Tigers and some up and coming members with the Royals and such, I still think that the White Sox have plenty of offense, and as long as that they can stay healthy, I think that they have, all it takes to be a really good contender come, fall.
Yeah. I mean, the White Sox, they won the AL Central last season. They lost to the Astros, sadly. But I think that they are going to be I think the winner of the AL Central is going to be a lot better this year. Mm-hmm. Just like you said, how stacked the AL Central is. It wasn't very stacked last season. Mm-mm. And that's why the White Sox lost to the Astros in the way that they did. So I think the White Sox do have a good chance. But look out for the Twins, the Tigers, even the Royals, just look out for those teams.
Yeah, and I think to echo that, having that strong and competitive AL Central, that'll just boost, I think, their playing game. So when it comes to the postseason, they'll have better odds.
Absolutely. Now my second team I think is going to be a dark horse are the Texas Rangers. And the reason why I think that is because they spent nearly $500 million on free agency this season, and they got some major players like Mitch Garver from the Minnesota Twins, Corey Seager from the LA Dodgers, and Cole Calhoun from the Arizona Diamondbacks. I think this team looks super good, and they were one of the worst teams in baseball last season, even with bringing their home field advantage, their crowd back first. But I think that with the addition of these players and the amount of money that they spent this offseason, they better make it to the playoffs this year with the way that they did things.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put maybe a sleeper team as someone who went 60 and 102 games last year, but that's just me. But my other sleeper team would be the San Diego Padres. They have a lot of lofty ambitions, I think, this year. They came off a really disappointing season and obviously right now have one of their best superstars out on a surgery for a fractured wrist, being Tati. And, I think that they need better seasons out of a lot of their star players, but I think that they can pull together this year. I think that they're going to have a lot gunning for them, and I think that they really just they have a strong competitive market too. They're out there in the NL West, and they have teams like the Giants and the Dodgers to compete with. So again, I think that competition on a regular basis will just be good for them come postseason.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people expected them to make the playoffs in the last couple seasons, and they haven't yet. So I think that they have a lot of pressure on their shoulders. That's the one thing as to why they might not make the playoffs, in my opinion, is because they have a lot of pressure on their shoulders to make the playoffs, and they're in a really tough division, like you said. So yeah.
And I think that also both teams, like if they can stay healthy, that I at least picked, if they can stay healthy, if they can stay on it with, you know, these improvements and like coming back from kind of some rocky issues. I mean, gosh, the Padres, finished the season horribly last year, and so I think that really they'll be coming back and they'll want some vengeance on this season. So I think that they're definitely a hot contender for the playoffs.
Absolutely. And obviously, we're only talking about a few. There's a bunch of other teams like the St. Louis Cardinals, New York Yankees, Houston Astros, that all, and even the Braves and the Dodgers, like they have a chance to both, or all those teams be super contenders for the World Series. But yeah. And
any of the teams, like there's been a lot of movement, and then obviously with the MLB lockout, I think that there's a lot of opportunity for teams to come out hot after spring season.
Absolutely. Well, we'll have to see what happens. We're excited to hear the news that the MLB season is finally going to start on April 7th. Thank you for joining me,
thank
Haley.
you.
And yeah, so we'll send it to break, and we'll be back after this.
For students searching for a way to stay active in an outdoorsy way, the City of Lawrence has bike trails running in every direction, and with the new bike share program, we can stay in shape as we tour the sights of our beautiful city. Clinton Lake is only a short 30-minute bike ride away from Daisy Hill and has the most incredible sunset location in all of Lawrence. Walking campus may give you the KU calves, but biking can give you the KU thighs. Bike Lawrence today.
You may not hear it at first, but it's there. Our chant, rising. On this summit, callings converge, voices unify into a chorus that sounds out for good, for greatness. Can you hear it?
Welcome back. For our next debate, I'm joined by Sam Lance and Carson Shea to discuss their picks for the Naismith Player of the Year. The finalists announced for the award this year are Iowa's Keegan Murray, Kentucky's Oscar Tshiebwe, Wisconsin's Johnny Davis, and Kansas's Ochai Agbaji. Sam, who do you believe will take the award home this year?
Well, Max, this may be one of the tightest races for the Naismith Trophy in a long time. For most of the season, there hasn't really been kind of that guy who has truly separated themselves. If you think back to past winners, guys like Luka Garza, he was clearly the guy last year, played well all season long. And for Kansas not too long ago, you have a guy like Frank Mason, who was the clear candidate for the Naismith Trophy. I don't think we really had that this year until one player really proved themselves down the stretch with consistent domination, and that would be Kentucky's Oscar Tshiebwe. He had 16 straight double-doubles to finish out the season, including the postseason play. I mean, just come on. He averaged 17.4 points per game and 15.4 rebounds. Those numbers in today's age of college basketball are just unheard of. Nobody in college basketball has averaged 15 rebounds per game in 40-plus years, and then you add 17 points to go with that. It's just crazy. Tshiebwe was also first in defensive rebounding rate at 34.6%, and he was second in the country on offensive rebounding rate. He grabbed nearly 1 of every 4 Kentucky misses this season. That's just absurd. And he did that against the best competition, too, including a game against, I know what your pick is, Carson, and Ochai Agbaji at Kansas.
All right. Well, Sam, can you just tell me real quick which one of these players is still left in March Madness?
That would be Ochai Agbaji.
That's right. I'm going with Ochai Agbaji. Oscar Tshiebwe didn't even make it past the first round. This man lost to a 15 seed. I know he had a great game, but he lost. Ochai is still in. He's in the Final Four right now. And Ochai is playing in the Big 12, which I believe is the best conference in college basketball. The Big 12 went 6-0 in their first round of the tournament, and they were dominant all year. They have 3 teams in the top 5 on the KenPom defensive efficiency rating, and Ochai was playing against these teams. He dropped 37 on Texas Tech, who was #1 on defensive rating.
Yeah, for sure. And the Big 12 was a good conference this year. They proved it in March. The SEC, though, was also no joke this year. And Kentucky always has those kind of marquee non-conference game. In total, Kentucky this year, they played 8 games against ranked opponents. Schwebwe averaged 16.4 points and 15 rebounds in those games. Specifically, he's played against 3 teams that are currently in the Final Four. That would be Duke, where he had 17 points and 20 rebounds to open the season. UNC had 16 and 12. And then KU at Allen Fieldhouse on the biggest stage, ESPN College Game Day, returning back to campus. What did Schwebwe do? He led Kentucky to an 18-point win, 17 points and 14 rebounds. What did Ochai Agbaji do? He kind of shied away from the game a little bit, 4 of 14 from the field and only 13 points, which at that time was his second least points. And I know the argument here is, Oscar's team, they didn't do jack squat in the postseason. A lot of people thought Kentucky could win it all. I was one of those people. They lost to Tennessee in the SEC tournament, turned around and lost to St. Peter's. But, St. Peter's is a pretty good team. And in that game, Schwebwe, 30 points and 16 rebounds. He became the first player in Kentucky history to ever have 30 points and 15 rebounds in an NCAA tournament game. I just think the year that he had was absolutely crazy, and there's no really kind of second candidate that I think right now that can kind of compare their seasons to Oscar's and say that it's better.
Yeah, I definitely agree that what Oscar's doing is very dominant, but I just think Ochai playing in the best conference, averaging 19.6 in the Big 12 is remarkable considering how good all the teams were this year. And he's leading his team through March Madness. He's playing around good players, but I think that Oscar's teammates around him are better than what Ochai has.
And just another thing about Oscar, kind of just him even being in this position to win the Naismith Trophy is kind of crazy. I read this article by Kevin Sweeney over at Sports Illustrated, and basically he grew up in the Dominican Republic. He didn't play basketball until he was 14. He actually lost his father whenever he was young too, and for him to come here and do what he did this season is rather crazy. But yeah, the 2022 Naismith Trophy winner will be announced on Sunday, April 3rd, in New Orleans at the Naismith Awards brunch. So we'll find out who the winner will be then. And that's going to wrap it up. We'll send it to a quick break.
For our third and final debate, I am joined by Isabel Scarborough and Jackson Reed to discuss which AFC team is bound for more success this year, the Cleveland Browns or the Denver Broncos. This past offseason, the Broncos added Russell Wilson, getting their franchise quarterback that they've wanted ever since Peyton Manning. And the Browns traded for Deshaun Watson, which had a lot of controversy behind it, and the Texans got 3 first-round picks for it. Isabel, I'll ask you, what team do you think is built for more success this offseason?
I have to go with the Broncos 100%. First, of course, we have to talk about the quarterback, Russell Wilson. He is the franchise quarterback that the Broncos have been needing for a while, and him, with the wide receivers that he has, it's going to be an unstoppable this year.
The franchise quarterback is Russell Wilson. Well, first of all, I apologize for my voice. I know I sound terrible, but hold on. The Cleveland Browns will have a better season. I'm going to start the supporting cast. Look what Deshaun Watson has around him in Cleveland. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt. That's the best 1-2 punch in the NFL, maybe behind Zeke and Tony Pollard in Dallas. That is the best running back 1-2 punch in the league, bar none. They added Amari Cooper. They still have David Njoku, and they still have Austin Hooper. So those are 2 fantastic tight ends in the run blocking game and an added wide receiver. Cleveland also plays in the AFC North, which have the quarterbackless Steelers, unless you want to count Mitch Trubisky as a volatile starting quarterback. Okay, sure. The Ravens, who can't stay healthy for anything. Compare that to where Denver's playing right now. They are playing in the best division in football. I would I'll say I don't think Denver wins a division game. I don't think they win a single one. I think Kansas City will beat them twice, and I think Las Vegas might win the division. I think Las Vegas will beat them twice. Denver, I know Max said that Russell Wilson is going to be the next franchise quarterback since Peyton Manning. Russell Wilson is nothing like Peyton Manning. Russell Wilson threw for 3,000 yards last year. In today's NFL, that is nothing. That is literally nothing. And I'm just saying, Russell Wilson, if he's this big difference maker, please tell me why the Seahawks were in the basement of the NFC last year.
Yeah, but look, we're talking about Russell
with better
Wilson.
receivers.
No, but we're talking about Russell Wilson with Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy. Those two.
DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are far better receivers. Far better than Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton.
No, Jerry Jeudy was hurt, and he still had a good season when he came back. Yes, it does. You have those two. Of course, the Broncos do need an offensive line, but we have the entire draft. And George Patton, the Broncos general manager, he spent the entire last year getting their secondary down. Patrick Surtain, the 5 top wide receivers, if they played us, they had 0 yards against him. So if we're talking about defense wins championships, and the Broncos have a very good defense.
Defense wins championships, but you got to make the playoffs
to
win a championship.
Which they can.
Denver is not making the playoffs.
Denver
Are you serious?
Right
no
now
way.
is the best time that Denver has to make the playoffs.
No chance.
They're adding so many people every single day. You have Randy
So are the
Gregory.
Chargers.
Okay.
And so are the Chiefs.
Yes, we're trying to
And
make.
so are the
They're trying to
Raiders.
make super teams.
Exactly. And
But the
Denver
Broncos
is not
are
a super
too.
team.
They're making a super team. Yes, they are.
They're making a super team. Please
They
tell
are
me
making a super
that
team.
Pat Surtain, Justin Simmons, who else is on their defense that's going to make an impact other than Surtain, Simmons, and Chubb?
Okay, you have Kareem Jackson. Kareem Jackson
An
can make
impact
plays.
player?
We have new people, like the Williams just got added. We have Price Callahan, Kyle Fuller. All of them together,
Those are
they
not
can make
impact players.
all of them together. They can make
Oh
plays
my
together.
goodness. That
And
is-
with Randy Gregory playing with Bradley Chubb, it's going to be.
Please tell me who you can draft as a Broncos fan. Who can you draft that's going to guard Khalil Mack? Or, I'm sorry, block against Khalil Mack. Oh, I'm sorry. And they have Nick Bosa. Who's going to block those guys?
That's what we have to. That's what they have to do in the draft. But right now, they have compared to the Browns, they have a better chance to be successful this year.
No, they don't.
100%
The Browns
they do.
play against the Ravens, the Steelers. Like, those are teams that the Browns should win most of their division games. They might lose a couple, but I'm telling you right now, when it's all said and done, Cleveland will have a better divisional record than Denver will. I promise you that. And they'll be back in the playoffs. I promise you that.
But we're talking about quarterbacks, and Deshaun still has a little bit iffy going on right now.
Deshaun Watson's a better quarterback
And
than
Baker
Russell
Mayfield
Wilson.
doesn't want to play anymore. So what happens if Deshaun Watson does get in trouble because his allegations have come back up and there's a little more?
So you trade Baker Mayfield for assets, and you draft a young quarterback to learn behind Deshaun Watson. That's just how it goes. All right. That's all from us. We'll send it back to Max with the close. Thanks very much for tuning in.
And thank you for watching today's show. Before we go, be sure to create your own Sided account to be able to post debates of your own, as well as comment and vote on other people's debates. Along with that, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at TakeaSideKU for weekly live streams and clips from the show, and where we'll be having different Sided content for you weekly on Twitter. That is all the time we have for today. For all of us here at TakeaSide, we'll see you next week.
Yeah.